Marie.
Dis Erika wat my geblok het dat ek nie kon inkom nie, maar nou is ek in. Erika is ook daar.
Erika, jy moet net nie weer doen nie hoor.
Okay.
Dankie Marie. Councillor Wumbu? Not yet. Councillor Reiters?
Ek is in speaker.
Dankie, Councillor Reiters. Raadlid sê Joko het verskoning gemaak, sy gaan na die dokter toe. Sy sal ons voorsien van 'n e-pos. En dan Raadlid van Dijk het vanoggend gesukkel om in te kom. Councillor, are you online?
Morning, colleagues and speaker. Yes, I'm in. I've been present at all the meetings, battling with the link, but I'm available. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor. Ons is 'n quorum. Ons is 'n quorum.
Sorry, Speaker. I believe you already called my name, but I am in.
Yeah, it'll cost you a cup of coffee.
Thanks, Speaker.
Thank you, Alderman Bayman. I've noticed you. I'm now still looking for Councillor Johan Breinders, Councillor Fifas, Councillor Baron, and Councillor Mvumbu. Otherwise, when it's pumpkin time, we can start at 12. Councillors, good morning. It's 12 o'clock and I want to start. Kan ons net stil word en vra ons die Here se seën? Op hierdie dag, Vader, sê ons vir U dankie. Dankie vir elke pragtige dag, elke deeltjie van die natuur, alles wat ons uit U hand ontvang, Here, wat U so mildelik oor ons uitstort wat ons nie verdien nie. Here, waar ons vanmôre weer by mekaar is om te besin oor gebeure wat ons raak in ons munisipaliteit. Vra ons, gee vir ons duidelikheid, Here. Ons bid vir elke personeellid, elke inwoner van die dorp, Here. Baie dankie vir Mossel, dankie vir die mense wat Mossel op hulle skouers dra, en dankie vir U wat Mossel en vir ons almal op U skouers dra. Here, ons vra dit uit Jesus se naam. Amen. Presence, I've make notice of Councillor Siyoko that give me a notice that she will not be here. She will be at the doctor this morning, so she's absent. No one else gave me a letter or email or what else for not being here. Please, councillors, remember, do it on an email, and then we've got a paper trail of if you were here or not, and that will be the easier one. the WhatsApps as well be them, not be the one to use. I know it's very easy to make use of WhatsApp, but please do it per email. Every one of us do have a municipal email address, and we do have the small tablets, and there's no excuses for not sending me an email then. Disclosure of interest in terms of Schedule 1, Code of Conduct for Councillors in terms of the Local Government Municipal Systems Act, Act 32 of 2000. Is there any one of you councillors that can be connected to one of these points on the agenda this morning? Raise your hand and I'll take notice of it. Well, it's absolute silence, and I assume there's no one that's got any interest on it. And then I'm at Roman 5, disclosure of benefits in terms of Schedule 2, Section 5, Code of Conduct for Officials of the Local Government Municipal Systems Act, and that's Act 32 of 2000. Anyone from our officials that has some interest in one of the points on the agenda this morning, it's time to put up your hand. I don't see any hands. I don't hear any sounds. So then we can go on to the agenda. If you just give me some few minutes, I'll be back on the agenda. Come now. I'm at E201 of the month of November of 2020, a non-pensionable night shift allowance in respect of the officials above the threshold working shifts. I suppose you've went through all that, and I just want to add something, and please take note of it. I'll read it, and that will be under the point 1.10, and I'm going to read it, that the LBC, sorry for that one, be informed of an exemption of the local collective agreement to be obtained as part of the LLF process. Can I repeat that? That the SAGLBC, South African Bargaining Council, I suppose, be informed of and exemption for the local collective agreement be obtained as part of the LLF process. What I do have in hand is letters that were signed by both the unions, and that will be rectified on the first LLF meeting. Can I have a proposer and a seconder that we can table E0201 of 11/2020? Yes, sir.
Speaker, I proposed, and I'm very, very glad that we can help that our people who's working for us. I proposed.
Proposed by Councillor Boyson. Do I have a seconder?
I will, Councillor Meyer will second it, Speaker, the proposal. Thank you.
Proposed by Councillor, no, seconded by Councillor Meyer. Sorry, it seems to me that more than one PC is on, and there was a blur, but I did hear that Councillor Boyson proposed and Councillor Meyer, you were the seconder then. Is there anyone that have something on the heart on this point? Is 201?
Hello, Speaker.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Speaker. Speaker, I am not in opposition to the item at all. I also welcome the fact that we imburse our staff, particularly these that are constantly in positions where their lives are threatened and where they actually take the brunt of communities' anger and that type of thing. I, however, was surprised to find that the firemen and women have been excluded from this kind of agreement, where they are actually in exactly the same position. what is the justification for not including the fire department's staff?
Councillor, I'm sorry, I owe you an answer on that one. I'm not prepared for that one, so I cannot give you an answer on that one. I think at first we stick to our guns, and then if there's something else we can discuss it on a later date.
Yes,
It's only about what is on the screen, if you don't mind.
Speaker, my apologies. I see that the municipal manager's hand was up.
I'll be with the municipality manager in a minute. Thank you for that one. Mr. Thijs Gilomere, the visitor to our meeting this morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Speaker. Good day to everyone. Yes, there's a separate collective agreement, a national collective agreement in respect of all the firemen. They do qualify for all of these, let's call it benefits. They had that agreement was reached because their hours are much more than the rest. They work a 57-hour week, while the others are working a 40-hour week. Obviously, they're allowed to rest in between and those when not on duty and those sort of things. But there was a separate agreement already reached in respect of the firemen, and that's a national agreement. Contrary, this one will be a local agreement. I hope that answered the question. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, I'm so glad you were not on holiday anymore. Or let me say that you've logged in while you are on holiday. Thank you very much for that one. I see a hand of Gous. Jeanette, are you still want to say something, Councillor Gous?
Speaker, thank you, and thank you, yes, my concern remains. I think I will then send in a formal request regarding the issue, because I understand what our is saying is that one is a national agreement, one is a local agreement. But I believe that in order to maintain morale, we need to treat our staff fairly and equally, and that this is going to be perceived as unfair treatment for one group. I understand that there are firemen and women that are also not receiving any kind of a night shift allowance for several years now, because they fall in a higher T band than is allowed for them to receive overtime. And to me, that feels unfair. I'm not exactly certain what the is saying about the hours, the 40 hours versus the 57 hours. Who's working 57 hours a week?
Councillor Gous, if I remind myself, the 57 hours is the fireman. The fireman's week is 57 hours. And the other workers, it's on a 40 hours week work week.
Okay.
Dan is jy nog iets op die hart vir ons?
Nee, wat Speaker, ek dink Speaker het reg geantwoord. Dis nie 57 nie, is 56 hours. Maar ek dink Speaker het reg geantwoord. Dis die brandweermanne wat die langer ure werk. Maar met ander voordele dan ook. En ek dink as ek mag, if I may respond to Councillor Gous's averment about the firemen, yes, it is true. There was a time about 4 years ago when some of them also went to another level, but I think that was covered in time by way of the national agreement. So they're not being discriminated against anymore because of this agreement. While the traffic guys, and remember it's traffic as well as 2 process controllers that we're talking about here, because 2 process controllers also beyond the threshold, and that is what we're talking about here. So I hope I've answered, Speaker, but actually you've answered everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. I will send in a further request via email. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Gous. Anyone else? Councillor Tabu, do you want to come to light? No one else.
No, Speaker. No, Speaker. It's just that my network is giving me problems. Otherwise, I'm listening.
No, I see you circling, but that's all right. I've marked you as being here. Anyone on this E201? Any more communications? Otherwise, if not, then I make a ruling that E201 of 11/2020 carries through as an unanimous vote. Thank you, councillors. Then I'll take you to 0202, E202 of 11/2020, amendment of operating hours for Suiderkruis Day Picnic Area. Do I have a proposer and a seconder for this one?
Thank you, Speaker. If I may.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Speaker. Speaker, I would like this item to be forwarded to the mayoral committee. Speaker, for the mere reason that I don't see the necessity for changing the operating hours at this time, as we are already at the point of the let's say the silly season, the festive season. So in fact, the time will be at 10 o'clock for closing. But in fact, with a shortened time, I would like us to have further discussions on this, and maybe after the mayoral I would propose that it be referred to the mayoral committee, and after the discussions there, we can bring it back to council. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you, Alderman Payman. That's now some change on what we have on the agenda. Do I have a seconder for the proposal that was made by Alderman Payman?
Thank you, Speaker. I second it. We need to make an informed decision. So I thank you, Speaker.
It's been proposed and seconded, and I see a hand from the MM.
Speaker, yeah, I just want to give some clarity. I accept the decision of council. Obviously, I've got no problem with that, but I just need to give some clarity. What happened, and the members from that area will know what happened there, is that we now have got at some time we had some drag racing there at that specific spot. We also nowadays have excessive liquor abuse. I don't want to say anything else but abuse there, if you look at the number of empties there. And it's really stretching the protection services, the fire, the law enforcement and the traffic guys. And it was for that reason that we'd like to close it a bit earlier during the normal times, and then only in the festive season have it at the later times, like 10 o'clock. But I accept what the council is saying. It's just that it's really stretching our officers that needs to enforce the law and order, because it's a very difficult task in that specific area, specifically late at night. The thought was that if we close earlier, people wouldn't be able to get that drunk within that premises, and they're more. It's easier to handle them when they're not that intoxicated. But yes, I accept what council said. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MM. Is there anyone else on it? Then my ruling will be that E202 of 11/2020 will be directed to the mayoral committee, and that some discussions will be taken there, and then from there on it will be going as normal up to the first coming council meeting. Councillor, that's about it. Thank you very much for visiting us for this short hour 15 minutes, I think that might be the shortest council meeting we had. Thanks for participating and thanks for thinking the way where we have to go with this. The second one we have on the agenda. I thank you very much, and with that I end the council meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Speaker.
This council is then adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Speaker.